The rain tapped softly against the glass windows of Adora's kitchen in Lekki Phase 1. It was 9:42 p.m., and Jude still hadn't come home. For the third time that week. The food on the table was untouched, steam long gone cold, and Adora's heart felt like it had been gripped by invisible hands all evening. She sat in silence, her eyes fixed on her phone, waiting for the dots to appear on WhatsApp. No typing. No last scene. Just blank. She had already called twice, and both times it rang unanswered. Her fingers trembled as she placed the phone down and stared out into the dark night, her reflection staring back with accusation. Her friend Toke's words echoed in her mind. "You think too much, Ada. Maybe he's really just working late." But something was off. Deeply off. Jude hadn't always been this way. In the first 2 years of their marriage, he would call to say goodnight even during business trips. He'd send photos, voice notes, even random "I miss you" messages. But lately, all that warmth had turned cold. Mechanical. And then came the lies. She remembered the evening 2 weeks ago when she saw a long black strand of hair on the passenger seat of his car. She had confronted him, shaking. "Whose hair is this, Jude?" "It's not mine." He had laughed, dismissive. "You think I'm carrying side chicks in the car now? Maybe it's the cleaner's hair. Are you okay?" That question. "Are you okay?" It always came out when she demanded truth. It turned her anger inward, made her feel crazy. Tonight, however, she wasn't letting go. She took her phone, opened Google Maps, and opened the location history they shared. It was a habit they developed years ago for safety. He didn't even know it was still on. Her heart pounded. His phone had pinged at a boutique hotel in Victoria Island for over an hour. A hotel. Edeora stood slowly, her legs wobbling beneath her. The thunder outside cracked as though God himself wanted her to move. She threw on a sweater, grabbed her keys, and stormed out into the storm. The boutique hotel was subtle, built for discretion. The kind of place meant for people who wanted to disappear without being seen. She parked across the street, heart hammering, and stared at the front entrance. At 10:15 p.m., she saw him. Jude. He stepped out into the drizzle, umbrella over his head, walking beside a tall, elegant woman in a wine-colored dress. She was laughing. He held the umbrella over her while his own shoulders got wet. Edeora didn't scream. She didn't move. She just watched. The woman kissed his cheek, and he laughed. That laugh. That same deep, rich laugh he hadn't given her in weeks. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to blink. She waited until he drove off. Alone. Then she returned to her car, hands shaking. She didn't drive home. She drove to Toke's place. Burst in without knocking. "He's cheating on me." Toke sat up straight, alarmed. Wait. What happened? You saw something?" Edeora nodded, almost dazed. "I saw him. With a woman. At a hotel. Tonight." Toke pulled her into an embrace. "I'm sorry. I really thought you were overthinking." "So did I. But I was right. I knew I was right." The next morning, Jude returned home to a silent house. He called for Edeora, but she was gone. On the dining table, she left a single note. "I saw you. I'm not crazy. I want a divorce." 3 days passed. Jude had called more than 20 times. Left voicemails. Sent desperate messages. But Edeora remained at Toke's apartment, curled in bed, her eyes puffy and her voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe I should have waited for him to explain," she murmured. Toke sat beside her, arms folded. "Eda, please. You saw what you saw. Why do you still doubt yourself?" Edeora sighed, her throat dry. Because he has a way of making me feel like I'm the one who's broken. The next morning, Jude sent flowers. Then a long message, please, Ada. Let's go to counseling. If you won't talk to me, talk to someone else. For us. Against Toke's advice, Eudora agreed. Maybe therapy would help. Maybe someone neutral would see the truth. The office of Pastor Mike was cozy and painted in soft colors. The air smelled of lemon-scented wood polish. Books lined the shelves, and a simple cross hung on the wall. Eudora sat on one end of the couch. Jude sat on the other, looking visibly worn. Thank you both for coming, Pastor Mike began. Sometimes love needs a place to breathe, without shouting or silence. So today, I want you to just talk. Jude spoke first. Pastor, I love my wife. But she doesn't trust me. Every time I smile at a waitress or talk to a colleague, she thinks I'm cheating. She searched my phone, followed me once. It hurts. Eudora clenched her fist. You're painting me like a madwoman. I'm painting what I've lived with, Jude replied, calmly. Pastor Mike turned to Eudora. Why do you feel this way, sister? She hesitated, then explained everything. The hair strand. The hotel location. The woman. He says it was a business meeting. That it wasn't what I think. But I know what I saw. Jude sighed. Pastor, it was a client. She was closing a deal and wanted to meet in person. I didn't think it would matter where. You let her kiss you. Eudora snapped. On the cheek. I didn't even know she would do that. Pastor Mike raised a hand. Let's pause here. Eudora, what would make you feel safe again in this marriage? Eudora was quiet. Honesty. Consistency. Openness. Jude nodded. Then I'll try harder. But Eudora saw it again. That look in his eyes. The one that said, I win you back, not because I'm innocent, but because you doubt yourself again. That night, alone in her temporary bedroom at Toke's house, Eudora scrolled through old pictures. They had once been so happy. So full of laughter. How had she become this woman? Always doubting. Always anxious. Always questioning. The next therapy session came. Jude brought gifts. A necklace. Perfume. Pastor Mike smiled. It seems Jude is making effort. Eudora nodded, but her stomach twisted. Something still didn't add up. The fourth session, Eudora came alone. Pastor Mike seemed surprised. He said he had a meeting, Eudora explained. Pastor Mike nodded slowly. And how do you feel this week? Eudora looked out the window. Like I'm being slowly erased. Later that night, Toke returned home and found Eudora seated in the dark. I need help, Eudora whispered. I want to believe I'm wrong. But what if I'm not? Toke sat beside her. Then let's find out. Together. It started with a wrong name. Eudora was scrolling through Jude's social media one restless night when she noticed a tagged photo that hadn't been visible on his timeline before. It was from a business conference he had attended a few months ago, the one he said was strictly professional and men only. A woman had tagged him in a group shot. Her name was Neka, and her profile picture showed her in the exact wine-colored dress Eudora had seen at the hotel that rainy night. Her stomach turned. She clicked through Neka's profile and began seeing more. A photo of Jude at a beach resort, Eudora had never been there. A birthday dinner post 2 months ago with the caption, "To the man who makes me feel seen every day." No tags. But Jude's wristwatch was visible in the photo. Eudora took screenshots of everything. Her heart thundered in her chest. She paced the room, the rage inside her boiling, twisting into something sharper than tears. She called Toke immediately. It's her. The woman from the hotel. She posted pictures. And Jude was there. They've been seeing each other. It wasn't just one night. Toke's voice came alive with fury. Send me everything. We're confronting him. Enough of this hiding. The next morning, Toke arranged a meeting. She told Jude it was a business-related conversation involving Edeora. They met at a quiet cafe in Suralia. Edeora wore sunglasses to hide her puffy eyes and came with a folder full of printed photos, screenshots, and hotel receipts she found on their shared banking app. Jude arrived, surprised to see both women. Eda. Toke. What's going on? Sit, Edeora said. He did. She dropped the folder on the table. This is what's going on. I want to hear you lie to my face. I want to watch you pretend again. Jude flipped through the pages. His color drained. This isn't what it looks like, he began. Toke laughed bitterly. Isn't it? Because it looks like you've had a secret girlfriend for over a year. It looks like you gaslit your wife while sneaking around with a woman who posts pictures of your vacations. It wasn't serious, Jude blurted. She was just a distraction. I didn't think Edeora would ever find out. Edeora stared at him, tears brimming. You made me question my sanity. You sat in front of Pastor Mike and lied. You made everyone think I was broken. I was scared, he whispered. I didn't know how to tell the truth. Edeora stood up. Now you've told it. I'm done. But she wasn't. Later that night, Edeora received a message request on Instagram from an unfamiliar account. You don't know me, but you should. My name is Neka. I'm the woman Jude lied to as well. I didn't know he was married. Please, can we talk? Edeora stared at the message for minutes. Then, she typed one word. When? The cafe was nearly empty, save for two elderly men playing checkers in the corner and a server wiping down tables. Edeora sat alone at the back, fingers curled around a glass of cold water that had long since lost its chill. The minutes dragged. Her breath felt shallow. Then the door creaked, and Neka walked in. She was taller than Edeora had realized. Graceful. Confident. And yet, her eyes revealed a storm of their own. She spotted Edeora and approached, her hands clutched tightly around her handbag. Edeora. Edeora stood, nodded. Yes. Neka. They sat in silence for a few moments, the air between them tense but oddly understanding. Like two women on opposite ends of a broken mirror. Neka spoke first. I didn't know he was married. Not until last week. He told me he was separated. That his wife was unstable and made his life miserable. Edeora swallowed hard. That's what he does. He twists things. Neka opened her bag and pulled out her phone. I thought maybe you'd want to see this. Messages. Voicemails. Even pictures. If nothing else, you deserve the full truth. Edeora scrolled through the phone, her face hardening with each swipe. There was no denying it now. Jude had maintained a long, deep relationship with Neka, traveling, promising, loving. He had played the same band in two lives. Neka sighed. I walked away the moment I found out. I couldn't live with the lies. I'm sorry, Edeora. For whatever it's worth. Edeora looked up, her voice steady. Thank you. You didn't owe me this, but I needed it. I needed to stop doubting myself. They talked for nearly an hour, two women untangling the threads of deceit Jude had spun between them. When they finally parted, Edeora walked into the afternoon sun with a strange new feeling in her chest. Not peace. Not yet. But something like clarity. The first morning in her new apartment was quiet. Edeora stood by the window in her oversized t-shirt, sipping warm tea as the city buzzed beneath her. Her things had arrived the day before, what little she chose to take from her life with Jude. Photos, a few books, her art supplies. She had left the wedding album behind on purpose. She'd cried. She'd raged. And now, she was done. The sun filtered in through the blinds, warming her face. For the first time in months, she let the silence fill her without fear. It didn't feel like loneliness anymore. It felt like freedom. She returned to work. Her clients welcomed her with warmth, and her first commission post-separation was a mural in a school library, bright colors, full of hope. As she painted, children stood around her, asking questions and giggling. She laughed with them, pain-streaked and barefoot, her heart slowly healing. Toke came by often. They shared bottles of wine, watched movies, and danced in the living room like they used to in university. "You're glowing," Toke said one evening. Edeora smiled. "I'm growing." Jude tried to contact her. Flowers. Emails. Long messages pouring out apologies and regret. "I'm going to therapy now," he wrote. "I finally see what I became." Edeora never replied. Not because she was bitter, but because she didn't need to. The closure was not his to give, it was hers to claim. 3 months later, Edeora launched her own art gallery. The Mirror Room, it was called. A space for women to showcase strength through pain, light through darkness. The opening night was electric, filled with laughter, music, and the vibrant pulse of rebirth. She gave a speech. "There was a time I believed love meant holding on. But I've learned that sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is let go." This space is not just about art, it's about truth. About owning your voice again. The applause thundered. 1 year after she left Jude, Edeora stood on the same cafe balcony where she had once met Neka. This time, she was alone, but smiling. A journal in her lap. Sketching. Dreaming. Oh. She wasn't waiting for anyone. Because finally, she had found herself.